A ruthless billionaire marries his loyal assistant to save his luxury hotel empire. But when a mysterious rival appears claiming to be his long-lost brother, his life spirals out of control. Alexander Crowe stood at the top of his high-rise hotel, the city glittering far below. At just 38, he was a self-made billionaire, known for his unwavering focus and business acumen. But today, his world threatened to collapse. His father's will have been a shock. To inherit the controlling shares of Crowe Luxury Hotels, he needed to be married by the end of the month. No exceptions, no loopholes. The board was already in disarray after a scandal involving the flagship hotel, and Alexander knew that his nemesis, David Hale, was preparing to seize the opportunity. Alexander had exhausted his options, arranged dates, old acquaintances, even contractual agreements. But every attempt had failed, and Hale's influence was growing by the day. He was lost in thought when Lily Harper, his assistant, knocked lightly and entered. "Sir, the merger meeting is set for tomorrow. I've also compiled a list of potential investors willing to discuss options." Alexander looked at her, efficient, calm, and unwavering. Lily had been by his side for 5 years, always managing his chaos with quiet strength. "You've been with me for a long time," Alexander said abruptly. Lily hesitated. "Yes, sir. 5 years." He studied her, realizing that unlike the glamorous socialites he usually dated, Lily was practical and reliable. She wasn't conventionally beautiful, no model-like appearance, but there was a quiet grace about her. "What would you do to save this company?" he pressed. Lily frowned, unsure where this was going. "Anything I can, sir." Alexander took a breath. "Marry me." Lily's eyes widened, a blush coloring her cheeks. "Sir, it's a contract, a business arrangement. You help me secure my inheritance, and I'll ensure your brother's debts are paid. You mentioned once he was struggling with his restaurant. Consider it taken care of." Lily bit her lip, trying to process the offer. Her brother's business was failing, and the debt collectors were relentless. This could change everything. "But why me?" she whispered. "Because you're trustworthy," Alexander said simply. "I can't risk a stranger manipulating the situation. You know how to maintain appearances. After the merger is secure, we'll quietly divorce. No complications." Lily looked into his eyes, seeing both desperation and determination. The proposal was outrageous, but it wasn't really about love, it was survival. "All right, I'll do it." Relief flickered across Alexander's face, but he remained guarded. "We'll announce it tomorrow at the charity gala. David Hale will be there, and we need to present a united front. He can't know I was scrambling for a solution." Lily nodded, her heart pounding. This wasn't just a business deal. It was stepping into a world she didn't quite understand. But for her brother, and for Alexander, she would do it. The next evening, the charity gala was buzzing with chatter. When Alexander walked in with Lily on his arm, heads turned. Dressed in an elegant sapphire gown, Lily looked far removed from her usual business attire. Alexander had to admit, she looked stunning. David Hale approached, his expression a mix of surprise and skepticism. "Alexander, I wasn't aware you'd settled down." Alexander kept his tone cool. "Just happened. Lily and I realized we've been working side by side for years. It made sense." David's eyes flicked over Lily, clearly unimpressed. "Interesting choice. Though I didn't peg you for the sentimental type." Alexander's jaw tightened, but he forced a smile. "Sentiment has nothing to do with it. I value loyalty. Something you wouldn't understand." David smirked, giving a mocking toast before moving on to other guests. Lily whispered, "Did I do okay?" "You did fine," Alexander replied, though his mind was still on David's thinly veiled insult. He couldn't shake the feeling that David had something planned. Later that night, back at the penthouse, Alexander poured a glass of whiskey, trying to unwind. Lily sat on the couch, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Do you think Hale believed us?" she asked. Alexander shrugged. "He's suspicious of everything, but we just need to maintain the illusion long enough to secure the inheritance." Lily bit her lip. "You're not worried he'll find a way to sabotage us?" Alexander sighed. "Hale's always been a snake. He resented that my father passed him over for me. But he won't win. I won't let him." Just then, Alexander's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the marriage. Too bad you're hiding the truth. Expect a surprise at the board meeting. His stomach sank. Someone knew about the arrangement, and they planned to expose him. Alexander looked at Lily, his voice tense. Someone's trying to ruin us. We need to be prepared for anything. Lily's eyes widened, fear flashing across her face. What are we going to do? Alexander set his jaw, determination flaring. Fight back. We're not going to let anyone tear this down. The next morning, Alexander sat at the long mahogany table in the boardroom, his presence commanding as always. Lily sat beside him, her posture calm and professional, but Alexander could sense her unease. The board members were discussing the upcoming merger, but Alexander's mind was still on the mysterious text from the previous night, who was threatening to expose his marriage as a sham. Just then, David Hale entered the room, all confidence and calculated charm. He took his seat, giving Alexander a sly smile. Morning, everyone. I just wanted to personally congratulate Alexander on his recent nuptials, Hale said, his tone laced with mock sincerity. Alexander gave a curt nod. Thank you. Now, let's focus on the merger details. But Hale wasn't done. Funny how quickly it all happened. You must have really swept your assistant off her feet. Quite a fairy tale, isn't it? Alexander didn't flinch. When you know, you know. Some of us don't waste time calculating every move. Hale's eyes glinted. Of course. Just interesting timing, given the inheritance clause. I'm sure the board appreciates your commitment. The tension in the room thickened, but Alexander maintained his composure. After the meeting, Hale lingered behind, approaching Alexander with a smug look. Seems rushed, don't you think? Hale musit. Almost like you needed a wife just to secure control. Alexander clenched his jaw. If you're suggesting something, say it outright. Hale leaned in. I'm just saying, I hope your story holds up. The board doesn't take kindly to deception. Neither do investors. It would be a shame if they thought this marriage was just a business transaction. Lily, who had been quietly gathering her things, looked up, alarmed. Alexander placed a firm hand on her shoulder. My personal life isn't your concern, David. Focus on your own failing ventures. Hadisimilit koldi. Just a friendly warning. Marriages built on lies tend to crumble. Make sure your perfect little arrangement doesn't backfire. As Hale left, Alexander felt a surge of anger. Lily touched his arm gently. He knows, doesn't he? Alexander exhaled. He suspects. We need to be more careful. If he proves the marriage is fake, the board could turn against me. Lily nodded, but Alexander noticed the worry etched on her face. He knew she wasn't used to being under such scrutiny. That evening, back at the penthouse, Alexander and Lily tried to decompress. He poured himself a whiskey while Lily prepared dinner, her movements meticulous, as if focusing on tasks would ease her anxiety. Just as they sat down to eat, the intercom buzzed. Alexander pressed the button. Yes. The doorman's voice crackled through. Sir, there's a young man here claiming to be your brother. Should I send him up? Alexander froze, his mind racing. I don't have a brother. The doorman hesitated. He insists, sir. Says his name is Michael Crow. Alexander looked at Lily, completely baffled. Send him up, he replied. Try to maintain control, despite the sudden confusion. When the elevator doors opened, a man in his late 20s stepped out. Tall, lean, with piercing green eyes that mirrored Alexander's own. He looked disheveled, but confident. Alexander, the man greeted, a smirk on his lips. Long time no see. Alexander narrowed his eyes. Who the hell are you? The man chuckled. I'm Michael, your half-brother. Didn't expect me, did you? Lily glanced between them, sensing the tension. Alexander, what's going on? Michael leaned casually against the wall. I heard about your little wedding. Goo. Thought I'd drop by and see my dear brother tying the knot. Though I must say, you didn't invite me. Alexander kept his voice steady. I don't have a brother. Michael shrugged. That's because dear old Dad didn't like to admit his mistakes. Mom kept me a secret, but now that he's gone, I thought it was time to introduce myself, especially since I might have a claim to part of your precious inheritance. Alexander's stomach dropped. Was this real? Could his father have hidden a second family all these years? Why come now? Alexander demanded. What do you want? Michael smirked. To get what I deserve. You got the business, the wealth, the life. All because you were the legitimate son. Well, I'm here to balance the scales. You're not the only Crow heir. Lily, sensing Alexander's growing fury, stepped forward. Even if you were his half-brother, why make a scene now? Michael gave her an appraising look. Because I want what's mine. And if Alexander's playing dirty with a fake marriage to keep control, I might just have a better claim than he does. Alexander took a step closer, his voice low and threatening. If you think you can just waltz in here and take what I've built, you're mistaken. Prove you're my brother, or get the hell out. Michael didn't falter. DNA test, sure. But in the meantime, I'll be talking to the board. I bet they'd love to know about your little rushed wedding. See you around, brother. With that, Michael walked out, leaving Alexander and Lily stunned. Once alone, Lily turned to Alexander, worry in her eyes. Do you think he's telling the truth? Alexander ran a hand through his hair. I don't know, but if he convinces the board that he's my half-brother, they might see him as a legitimate heir. And if Hale's behind this, it could be a coordinated attack. Lily's face hardened. We need to fight back. Prove he's lying before he can make his move. Alexander nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. I'll have him investigated. If there's any chance he's not telling the truth, I'll find it. Lily hesitated. And if he's telling the truth? Alexander looked out the window, his jaw clenched. Then I'll do whatever it takes to protect what's mine. As Lily placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, Alexander couldn't help but feel the weight of the past crashing into his present. He thought his biggest threat was Hale. But now his supposed half-brother had entered the game, and the stakes had never been higher. The next morning, Alexander sat in his office, his mind still reeling from the previous night. He had instructed his private investigator, Paul Harlan, to dig into Michael's claims. If this man truly was his half-brother, the implications could be catastrophic. Lily entered, carrying a cup of coffee. Paul called. He's already started looking into Michael. He thinks there's enough to suggest your father might have had an affair years ago. Alexander clenched his jaw. Of course he would. My father always had a way of keeping secrets. Lily sat down, her expression thoughtful. If Michael is legitimate, how could this impact the inheritance? Alexander ran a hand through his hair. If he proves he's a Crow, the board could consider him an heir. And if Hale is backing him, they might use this to challenge my leadership. I can't let that happen. Just then, Paul called. Alexander put him on speaker. I did some digging, Paul began. Michael Crow was born in a small coastal town where your father's company used to have a resort. His mother worked as a server. There's a birth certificate, but it only lists the mother's name. No father mentioned. So no direct proof? Alexander asked. Not yet. But there's something else. Michael's been seen meeting with David Hale multiple times over the past few weeks. I think Hale's grooming him to make a claim. Alexander's jaw tightened. That snake. He's using this to undermine me. Lily crossed her arms, her eyes sharp. If Hale is manipulating him, he might be feeding him false information just to create chaos. Paul hesitated. One more thing. There's a rumor that your father made a secret financial settlement to Michael's mother years ago. If that exists, it might imply acknowledgement, even if it's not official. Alexander nodded. Find that proof. If Hale's fabricating this, we'll expose it. That afternoon, as Alexander was trying to piece together his next move, his phone rang. To his surprise, it was his estranged sister, Rebecca. Alexander, she said, her voice guarded. I heard about your marriage. And about Michael. He braced himself. What do you know? Rebecca hesitated. I got a call from David Hale. He asked if I'd support his claim that Dad was unfaithful. I didn't give him an answer. Alexander's suspicion deepened. Why would Hale contact you? Because he knows I resent you, Rebecca admitted. But even I can see that Hale's playing dirty. I don't trust him. And if Michael is really our half-brother, why use him like a pawn? Alexander couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude. I didn't expect you to reach out. Rebecca sighed. Maybe I'm just tired of Hale manipulating everyone. If you need my help proving the truth, let me know. But I'm not doing this for you, just to spite Hale. He almost smiled. That's more than I expected. Thank you. That evening, back at the penthouse, Alexander couldn't shake the sense of unease. Lily was organizing documents when he spoke up. Rebecca called. She's skeptical about Michael and doesn't trust Hale. I think she's willing to help, but I can't rely on her entirely. Lily looked thoughtful. Do you think Rebecca might actually support you if it came to a vote? Alexander shook his head. She's unpredictable, but if she's even questioning Hale's motives, it means something's off. The doorbell rang, and Marcus, Alexander's head of security, walked in. Sir, you might want to see this. He handed over a manila envelope marked confidential. Inside were photos of Michael meeting with Hale at a private club. In one image, Hale was handing Michael a thick folder. Another showed them shaking hands. Alexander's eyes narrowed. This isn't just a coincidence. Hale's grooming him, feeding him information, probably even promising a cut of the inheritance. Lily frowned. Why go to such lengths? Even if Michael is real, why not just bring him forward? Because Hale needs chaos, Alexander realized. If I'm distracted with family issues, he can undermine my leadership quietly. Lily placed a comforting hand on his arm. You'll prove the truth. You always do. Her words steadied him, but just as he was about to respond, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You're not the rightful heir. The truth will come out, and you'll lose everything. Alexander showed the message to Lily, his eyes blazing. Someone wants me to doubt myself, but I'm not backing down. The next morning, as Alexander prepared for the board meeting, Lily handed him a file. I found something. Your father's personal assistant kept financial records separate from the main company files. There's a note about a one-time payment to a woman named Susan Miller, Michael's mother. Alexander's heart pounded. This could imply acknowledgement. If Hale gets his hands on it, he'll spin it against me. Lily looked determined. We can frame it differently. Your father might have felt responsible without admitting paternity. That's not proof of an heir. It's proof of a private settlement. As they reached the boardroom, Alexander felt a surge of determination. Hale was already there, looking confident, while Michael stood beside him, trying to project the same arrogance. Ready to discuss family matters, Alexander? Alexander remained calm. You seem awfully invested in my family, Hale. Almost like you have something to gain. Hale's smile didn't falter. Just looking out for the company. Stability matters. And if you've been hiding a scandal, the board deserves to know. Alexander met his gaze, unyielding. I've built this company from the ground up. My personal life doesn't change that. If you want to challenge me, do it. But dragging in someone with no proven connection just shows your desperation. Hale opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, the doors swung open. Rebecca walked in, her presence commanding. She looked directly at the board members. I don't know who this man is, she said, pointing at Michael. But David Hale tried to manipulate me into supporting his claim. I refused. This is nothing more than a calculated attack on Alexander's leadership. The board members exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves. Hale's confidence faltered. Alexander seized the moment. If Michael can prove his claim, we'll address it properly. But I won't let Hale manipulate this company using lies and half-truths. Until then, the leadership remains intact. Hale's face hardened, realizing his plan was falling apart. Michael seemed confused, not prepared for the sudden shift. The board chair nodded. We'll review the evidence before making any changes. For now, we proceed as planned. As the meeting adjourned, Hale shot Alexander a glare. This isn't over. Alexander smirked. No, but your influence is. After the tense board meeting, Alexander returned to the penthouse, his mind racing. Lily followed him in, her concern evident. That was intense, she murmured, handing him a glass of whiskey. Alexander took a sip, tried to process the chaotic day. Hale won't give up. Even with Rebecca siding with me, he'll keep pushing. He needs Michael to be legitimate to make his move. Lily sat down beside him, her presence calming. If Michael really is your half-brother, he wouldn't need Hale's guidance. There's something more here. Alexander nodded, his instincts telling him the same. Hale is desperate. He's using Michael as a pawn, but why? What's his real goal? Just then, Paul called. Alexander put him on speaker. I've got news, Paul said. I found something odd. There's no legal documentation proving that Michael Crow changed his last name. I dug deeper and found out that up until 3 months ago, his name was Michael Hale. Alexander froze. What? Paul continued. Hale must have convinced him to take the Crow name. He's been grooming him for this scheme for months. Lily gasped. So, Michael isn't even a crow? Paul hesitated. I wouldn't say that just yet. There's still the matter of the financial settlement. But this name change suggests that Hale manipulated him to make him appear legitimate. Anger flared within Alexander. Hale orchestrated this whole thing. He's using Michael to challenge my position. But if Michael isn't truly related, it all falls apart. That evening, Alexander decided it was time to confront Michael directly. He called him and insisted they meet at the penthouse. Lily prepared coffee while Alexander paced, formulating his approach. When Michael arrived, his demeanor was cocky, clearly confident that Hale had prepared him well. What's this about? Michael asked, feigning indifference. Alexander didn't mince words. I know you changed your last name 3 months ago, from Hale to Crow. Care to explain? Michael's bravado slipped for a moment. What does it matter? I found out the truth about my father. Hale helped me claim what's mine. Alexander's eyes narrowed. Or did Hale convince you to fabricate a story to destabilize my leadership? Michael scoffed. You're just scared I'll take what you don't deserve. Hale told me how your father regretted choosing you, that he wanted to make amends by recognizing me. Lily spoke up, her tone firm. Did you ever question why Hale is so invested in your claim? If you were truly Alexander's brother, why would Hale, of all people, help you? Michael hesitated, confusion flashing in his eyes. He said he wanted justice, that you've been running the company into the ground. Alexander folded his arms. Hale wants power. He's manipulating you to gain leverage over me. Do you even know if your story is true? Michael seemed to falter. He said we'd do a DNA test. Prove it once and for all. Alexander's gaze didn't waver. Then let's do it. Tomorrow. If you're so sure, you'll agree. Michael swallowed hard. Fine. You'll see. I'm telling the truth. After Michael left, Lily glanced at Alexander. He doesn't seem like a mastermind, just a pawn. Alexander agreed. Hale's using his resentment and uncertainty. We need proof that Hale fabricated this whole scheme. If we expose his manipulation, Michael will lose his resolve. That night, Alexander and Lily pored over old company records, trying to find any trace of Hale's meddling in the Crow family affairs. Just as they were losing hope, Lily found something. A suspicious transfer of funds from Hale's personal account to a private investigator. What's this? She murmured, enlarging the document. Alexander leaned over, realization dawning. Hale must have hired someone to find any potential illegitimate heirs. When he found Michael, he molded him into a weapon against me. Lily's eyes widened. If we can prove this, the board will see that Hale staged the whole thing. But we need more concrete evidence. Just then, Paul called again. I found a private investigator Hale hired. Apparently, the guy was tasked with digging up dirt on your father and anyone who could be a potential heir. It looks like Hale specifically sought out Michael when he realized the resemblance. Alexander clenched his fist. Perfect. Get a statement from the investigator. If we can link Hale to this setup, we'll destroy his plan. The next morning, Alexander, Lily, and Paul met Michael at the lab for the DNA test. Hale was already there, looking smug as ever. You're wasting your time, Hale sneered. When the results prove Michael's legitimacy, the board will reconsider your position. Alexander didn't reply, his gaze fixed on Michael. Are you sure about this? Michael looked nervous, but Hale nudged him forward. Of course he is. The test was conducted, and they were told the results would take a few hours. As they waited, Alexander noticed Michael's restless demeanor. He decided to approach him quietly. Are you really sure you want this? To tie yourself to a man like Hale? Michael shot him a defensive glare. You don't get it. I've been nothing my whole life. When Hale told me I could be part of something bigger, I believed him. Alexander softened his tone. And what if he's lying? What if he's just using you? Michael's anger seemed to waver. You're just trying to mess with my head. Maybe. Or maybe I'm trying to protect you from being destroyed in a game you don't understand. Hale isn't family. He's manipulating you. Before Michael could respond, a technician appeared with the results. Hale pushed forward, eager to see the outcome. The technician cleared his throat. The DNA comparison shows no biological relation. Mr. Crow and Mr. Michael Hale are not siblings. Silence fell. Hale's face darkened, but Michael looked crushed, realizing he had been deceived. Hale tried to bluster. This doesn't prove anything. Your father could have concealed. Alexander cut him off. You knew from the start. You fabricated this entire story to use Michael against me. You exploited his desperation for your own gain. Michael turned to Hale, fury in his eyes. You lied to me. You said I was family. It. You were useful. That's all. Alexander stepped forward. The board will hear about this. How you manipulated an innocent man for your power play. You're finished, Hale. Hale stormed out, leaving Michael stunned and broken. Lily approached, offering a gentle hand on his shoulder. You deserve better than being used like that, she said kindly. Michael nodded, his bravado shattered. I just wanted to matter. Alexander gave him a nod of understanding. You'll find your way. Just don't let someone like Hale define you. After the revelation of the DNA results, Alexander felt a wave of relief, but also a deep sense of responsibility. Michael had been used, manipulated, and humiliated. Despite the chaos he had caused, Alexander couldn't help but feel pity for him. Lily approached, her voice soft. Michael didn't deserve to be used like that. Maybe we should offer him some support. Alexander nodded. I'll make sure he gets a chance to rebuild. I know what it's like to feel abandoned and used. Hale took advantage of his desperation. Just as they were about to leave the lab, Rebecca called. Alexander answered cautiously. Looks like you handled that well, Rebecca said. Words already spreading that Hale got caught manipulating an innocent guy. The board won't be happy. Alexander leaned against the wall. I couldn't have done it without your intervention. You were right to be suspicious of Hale. Rebecca hesitated. I'm not saying I forgive you for the past, but maybe we can start over. Hale's out of the picture, and the company needs stability. Maybe you and I can work on that, together. A faint smile crossed Alexander's lips. I'd like that. Back at the office, the board had convened to address Hale's misconduct. Alexander stood at the head of the table, facing the skeptical but curious board members. One of the older directors cleared his throat. Mr. Crow, can you explain the situation with Mr. Michael Hale? Alexander kept his tone firm. David Hale orchestrated the entire scheme to present Michael as my half-brother. He manipulated Michael's desperation to challenge my leadership. The DNA test proved that Michael is not related to me. Hale used him to destabilize the company. Another board member nodded, and your sister confirmed that Hale had tried to recruit her to support the false claim. It's clear that Hale acted against the company's best interests. The chairman sighed. In light of these findings, the board votes unanimously to remove David Hale from any association with Crow Luxury Hotels. Effective immediately, Alexander felt the weight lift from his shoulders. Hale had been a threat for too long. One of the board members, a longtime ally, approached him after the meeting. You handled this well, the man said, but you should know that the board will still keep a close eye on your leadership. This scandal caused unrest, and we can't afford another. Alexander nodded. Understood. I'll make sure the company stays secure. After leaving the office, Alexander found Michael sitting on a bench outside the building, looking lost. He approached cautiously. Michael, he began, not sure how to start. Michael didn't look up. You were right. I let him use me. I just wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere. Alexander sat beside him. Hale preyed on your need for family. I know what it's like to want to prove yourself, but you don't need someone like him to find your place. Michael hesitated. What happens to me now? Alexander considered his next words carefully. You made a mistake, but you're not the first person to fall for a manipulator's promises. If you want to rebuild, I can help you find work. Maybe not here, but somewhere you can start fresh. Michael looked up, surprise in his eyes. Why would you do that after everything? Alexander's expression softened. Because you were a pawn, and because I'd rather see you build something of your own than get dragged down by Hale's schemes. For the first time, Michael's guarded demeanor cracked, and he gave a small, grateful nod. Thank you. That night, Alexander returned to the penthouse, finding Lily on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. He joined her, his presence calming but thoughtful. "It's over," he said quietly, his voice carrying both relief and lingering vulnerability. Lily looked at him, her eyes soft. "You did it. You protected your company, your family, and even Michael." He glanced at her, his usual stoic mask cracking just a little. "I didn't do it alone. You've been there every step of the way. Without you, I might have lost everything." Lily smiled gently. "You would have found a way. You always do." Alexander shook his head. "Maybe before, when I thought I could handle everything on my own. But this time, I needed you. I didn't expect this marriage to feel real, but somewhere along the way it did." Lily's breath caught. "You mean that?" Alexander reached for her hand, his touch surprisingly tender. "This started as a business deal, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. You've shown me that not every relationship has to be calculated. Some things just happen." Lily felt her heart racing, unsure whether to believe what she was hearing. "So, what are you saying?" He took a step closer, his gaze unwavering. "I don't want to end this. Not after everything we've been through. I want to try, really try, to make this marriage work." Lily's eyes filled with emotion, and before she could respond, Alexander leaned in, his lips brushing hers softly. The kiss was hesitant at first, as if testing the boundaries, but then it deepened, both of them surrendering to the feelings they had kept locked away. When they finally pulled apart, Lily's cheeks were flushed, her eyes bright. "I didn't think you'd ever say that." Alexander gave a rare, almost boyish smile. "Neither did I, but here we are." Lily laughed softly, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I guess even billionaires can learn something new." They stayed there, wrapped in each other's warmth, the city stretching out before them, a promise of a new beginning. In the following weeks, the company stabilized under Alexander's leadership. Rebecca stepped into a strategic role, helping streamline operations. To further solidify the company's future, Alexander made an official announcement. Lily would become his co-director, acknowledging her unwavering support and business acumen. The board approved, recognizing her role not just as his wife, but as an integral part of Crow Luxury Hotels. Michael, with Alexander's support, found work at a community outreach program, using his experience to help others who had been manipulated or felt lost. One evening, after a long day, Alexander and Lily shared dinner in the penthouse, their banter light and affectionate. As they discussed plans for a new hotel opening, Alexander suddenly reached for her hand. "Lily," he began, his tone serious but tender. "I don't just want this to be a convenient marriage anymore. I want it to be real. For good." Lily's heart swelled with happiness. "I want that too." As they clinked glasses, Alexander knew that for the first time in years, he wasn't just building an empire. He was building a life, one that felt richer than any business deal or inheritance.